Love's for beginners, ain't no winners. It slips through your fingers, I ain't telling no lies. So F all the drama, F the karma. Just do what you wanna, promise you got time. Be you and keep looking forward. Don't you look backwards and you'll be fine. Come through and say what you need to. Don't let them put you down. Baby, let me tell you what it feels like. Being independent, no trouble inside. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Let me tell you what it feels like. Being no one's mama, yeah, do yourself right. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Come get your future, know you wanna. She'll never betray ya, she ain't telling no lies. So break the glass ceiling, find your meaning, make truth out of dreaming, yeah. Baby, let me tell you what it feels like. Being independent, no trouble inside. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Let me tell you what it feels like. Being no one's mama, yeah, do yourself right. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Be you and keep looking forward. Don't you look backwards and you'll be fine. Come through and say what you need to. Don't let them put you down. Baby, let me tell you what it feels like. Being independent, no trouble inside. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Let me tell you what it feels like. Being no one's mama, yeah, do yourself right. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life.
Question: did you get a chance to meet with the royal family? And if not, how was it like having them there in the building?
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph?
The Prince and Princess of Wales.
Oh, no, I did not. I'm only familiar with one royal family. I don't know too much about that one.
Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Hope everyone is good. Hope we're all having a good weekend. Right, a lot to get through today. Sorry, I haven't put the title up yet, but we're going to go through the talk with Harry yesterday. Rebel Wilson, who I think is about to lose some of her friends. Chris Rock, some stuff about the coronation, and yeah, a couple of other updates as well. So welcome everyone. Hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't hit it already, and let's see who's in the chat. Can everyone hear me, by the way? Just the one in the chat, just to make sure that you can hear me. Should be able to. Just the one in the chat. Okay. Yeah, I think you can. Heard the replay. Right. Hello, Church Nelly. Hello, Patricia Nixon. Hope you're good as well. Hi, Karen. Hi, Carol. So, something really annoying happened yesterday. I went to take a nap after the podcast, and I thought, when I get up, I'll buy the tickets. I never got up, slept until the morning, and then when I got up, it said that the tickets were no longer on sale. And I don't know if there was just something like a glitch on my side or what. And then I messaged Lightside and she said, no, the tickets are still on sale. By this time, I've already gone out for coffee because I had a date. And then at this point, I'm just like, you know what? I'll just leave it. I wasn't able to get a ticket. I'll just get some highlights from someone else. But then the date kind of finished early. So now I'm like rushing around trying to ask a squaddy if they have a link. So shout out to Karen who did actually send me the link. I still wasn't able to watch the whole thing. I kind of saw bits and pieces of it. But I do have a thread. I can see some of you in the chat saying the same thing happened to you. Yeah, I do have a thread from Huffington Post journalist who did a pretty good job of breaking the whole thing down. So if you didn't see it or you weren't able to get a ticket, don't worry. We're going to go through everything in a sensible way, not some of the things that I've been seeing in the tabloids yesterday and today, which are just some of them are just disgraceful. I really don't care how you feel personally about Harry and Meghan, but media outlets need to be more responsible about how we talk about mental health. And some of the things that I've been seeing, I feel like they're so wrapped up in how they feel personally about Harry and Meghan that they're forgetting that there's other people who are seeing these headlines and reading these stories who could be going through things to do with their mental health, who could be trying to seek help, and they're seeing the way they're talking about Harry and mental health and his mental health. So I'm going to go through that when we get to that part of the podcast. But welcome everyone if you're just coming in. Okay. Let's go through your comments before I get to it. Blessings to you, Prudence, as well. Hey, Suzuki. Yeah, Ruth. I don't think Chris Rock was ever funny, but I will get to that. I have never liked Chris Rock. Let me just say that. Even before, like, by the time it got to the point where Will Smith gave him that slappity slap, I was like, even if he had never said anything about Jada, he deserved that slap. I have never liked him. And I'm gonna explain why, because he has a history of going after black women for humor. And I feel like, especially now that we're having discussions about misogyny within the community, yeah, we're gonna get to that. But that's one of the reasons why I haven't liked him for a while. Little Mac, I'm Team Will Smith. Oh my god. Okay, let's get to it. Where are we now? Oh, here's me on the date yesterday. The food was great. I look great. And that's all I have to say about the date. If you can't say nothing nice about your date, don't say nothing at all. But I looked fabulous and the steak was good. Okay, on to the royal stuff. You know who's not going to the coronation? Kylie Minogue. So she's also refused to go, adding to the list of performers who do not want to appear at the coronation. She said she will not be performing at the King's coronation concert as she doesn't think it's right amid Australia's apparent move towards becoming a republic. So another one. So far we have Adele, Harry Styles, Robbie Williams, Elton John. Don't know why they ever asked Elton John. Elton was never going to perform. He was too close to Diana. Who else? I think Jewel said no. They should just ask Sam Smith. Ask Sam Smith, he'll perform for sure. He'll be ready with his devil horns and that inflatable balloon outfit that he was wearing. Sam Smith is ready. And we've also heard today that Charles has officially extended his invitation to Harry and Meghan. Now, I find this interesting that this comes a day or two after we hear about an eviction from Frogmore. So, is it that the courtiers realized that the whole thing just didn't look good? And also because there was talk of possibly moving Andrew into Frogmore Cottage. I think that was a bad play on their part. And even some of the Royal Rota reporters didn't know how to feel about that. They were kind of going back and forth as to whether or not does it make Charles, look like the strong king that he wants to look like, or does it just look very petty? Because the first question that a lot of people asked was regarding security. If they can't stay at Frogmore, well, then where are they going to stay? Especially considering that there's still the court case going on over whether or not Harry can pay for armed security, which he has the right to do. I don't know why this is still going through the courts and the Privy Council. But apparently an invitation has been sent, and I've just decided that we're gonna wait until the day. The Sussex spokesperson has said that there's no immediate decision, and my feeling is that we're probably not going to know until days before. I think they'll try and keep it as under wraps as possible. Also, in Coronation news, they have made the anointment oil. Oil made with olives harvested from the burial place of the monarch's grandmother in Jerusalem has been made. A new batch of coronation oil has been made using the olives harvested from the groves on the Mount of Olives, the burial place of the king's paternal grandmother, Princess Alice Battenberg, Buckingham Palace has announced. The olives were pressed just outside Bethlehem, and the oil, which will be used to anoint both the king and queen consort at Westminster Abbey, was consecrated in Jerusalem. How do we feel about this? Do we feel that it's out of touch to do this whole anointment thing? Is it in keeping with tradition? How do you think that's going to reflect on where we are now in the society, still upholding this idea of, being anointed by God, basically? Because that is the belief. How does that look where we are in a society today? Mind you, I think Sweden and maybe Norway, but I know that Sweden definitely has, they stopped doing coronation ceremonies, or at least these kind of grand ones. It's more just kind of the king and some officiator in a room somewhere nowadays, that kind of thing. Only the UK royals still do coronation ceremonies of this scale. And the route for the coronation is going to go through most of central London. So I think that they are definitely going for a full-scale coronation. I don't think that they're going to slim it down at all. Okay, let's go to your comments before we continue. Light side, I don't know much of his history, but did he do the Black Hair documentary? Yes. And I have always insisted that that was not a documentary, that was a mockumentary. I think that there is a very how do I put this? There is a very interesting conversation that you could have about black hair, the politicization of black hair. There was a time where we were told to hide our natural hair, and then during the Black Power movement, it was like this free the Afro thing. During the civil rights movement, embracing your natural hair, and even now, it's something that a lot of Black women do still struggle with. So I think there was room to do something that was very interesting and eye-opening, perhaps for people that don't understand why black hair is so politicized. But he just turned it into one giant joke, and I think poking fun at black women and their hair. And when the moment I realized that he wasn't serious was he actually went on the Oprah show, and there is a clip of it. You can go and look this up, where he's sitting with Oprah on her show, and this Oprah has like a picture of her as a little girl on the screen, and he calls her hair slave hair. And for me, like when I hear other black people saying like that, to me that is a marker of self-hatred. And it's the fact that black women's hair, our appearance, seems to have been this running joke throughout a lot of his comedy. And I do think that he is just hiding his self-hatred behind his comedy. There was that whole segment where, he thought it was very funny to have his white comedic friends using the N-word. I'm sure a lot of you have seen that clip. So um but yeah, sorry, I segued a little bit, not even at that part. But yes, light side, that was the documentary. Yeah, yeah, Ebony. So far, it's only Lionel Richie performing. So we've got Lionel Richie performing, and we've got oil being put on Charles and Camilla's heads. Valerie, I never liked Chris Rock. He's a nasty man, and Jesus is in the building. I'm praying for your husband. You deserve a wonderful man. Thank you, Valerie. Oh, sometimes you just feel like, will I ever meet that person? Levi, why can't he ask Kate to play the piano? Oh, hilarious. I'm like, oh, that was too fast. Go back to the date photo. Here it is. Yeah, you can look at my date photo. My dress had the most gorgeous slit in it, like a long black dress. I've only worn twice. Um, it was a bit of a waste of a dress in the end, but whatever. The steak was nice. Ruth Lopez, if there's an apartment in Buckingham Palace, why can't Andy move there? Oh, there's several apartments in Buckingham Palace. He can't move there because do you remember there were protesters outside of Buckingham Palace? They can't move him there. It would tempt protesters. Trisha, I was on neither side of the Rock sniff slap. Now I think Rock might need another slap. Well, there are some squaddies out here on these royal streets who did not like the fact that I said that Chris Rock deserved that slap. Have you changed your minds? So I'm just going through your comments before we get on to the next thing. If you're just joining us, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, please. Some of you. So you think the oil is blasphemy? It's an abomination. Tonya, that oil is better in salad. What a waste. Oh gosh. Adriana, you said that the oil snake thing is embarrassing. Legs. Thank you so much for the super chat. You said anyone else noticed that the royal rodents are spinning palace leaks now? The report on H&M confirming it, but ignore the leaks of the palace. Do you know what? Sometimes it's so difficult now to differentiate between what is a leak from the palace, um, what is briefing from the different houses, what is the press just doing press spin to get clicks and money because they do that as well, and what is just um, filler news because it's a slow news day and we have to say something about Harry and Meghan. You almost can't differentiate between them now. All right, Kim Peach, as you said, and thank you for the super chat. King wants them in the palace to control. Prince Archie won't have a birthday party and will keep Sussex family from having any unforeseen freedom to move about. Harry to stay in a hotel. that could also be a possibility. So this is in reference, for those of you that don't know what Kim Peaches is referring to, there was a suggestion that because Harry and Meghan have been evicted from Frogmore Cottage, that they would get an apartment in Buckingham Palace. And that is a good point. If they had them in Buckingham Palace, they could be watching their every move. They won't be allowed to, Archie won't be allowed to have a birthday party. That is a good point. And I don't see that happening. I don't see them being in Buckingham Palace. Too risky. You don't even know if they have the place bugged. Thank you, Miss Pete Hawks. That was a very sweet message. I hope I do meet him. Hard out here on these streets. Okay, let me take the picture of me off. All right, I'm just trying to get through your comments before we get to the next thing. Okay, I think that is all. Boney, you said, I'm one of them that changed my mind about Chris Rock and the Slap. Changing your minds now. Okay, should we just get to that part then, since we keep mentioning it? Yes, so Chris Rock basically came out and said that well, he slammed Meghan for accusing the royals of racism. He said that what she went through was not racism stuff; it was family stuff or in-law stuff. That's how he put it. Let me actually get the article, and I can read some of it out. I mean, listen, if you say anything about Meghan, your name is going to pop up in the news. It's like people have figured it out now that hating on her is the way that you get some press attention. Maybe the tickets for his concert thingy didn't sell enough. So he said that oh yeah, so he says, like, who is this girl Meghan Markle? He started, adding, seems like a nice lady, just complaining, like, didn't she hit the light skin lottery? Right, so a dose of colorism in there as well. He goes on to say, yeah, that some of that ish she went through is not racism, it's just some in-law ish. Yeah, I mean, what can I say? I've never liked this guy. I've never found him funny ever. And like the USA Today article said, he does just kind of seem like now he's ranting about a lot of things and like he's lost his comedic touch. I don't actually necessarily mind you know, comedy or satire touching on controversial topics or being edgy, but I feel like a good comic knows how to um actually make things funny. Like Chris Rock just comes across as somebody who's grumpy and bitter. Like the comedic value just doesn't seem to be there. And it's not just him, it's like Louis CK. I mean, obviously he has a history of abuse, so I don't think anything he says anymore is funny. Like I can't laugh at anything he says. But it's like the comedic value just isn't there. It's just like these like this guy ranting with a microphone. Right, on to the next thing. So Joe Biden's been going through some health issues, and so it's looking like he may not attend the coronation. I think it would be a bit strange for the President of the United States to attend the coronation of a British king, don't you think? Given the obvious history. But with Biden's health issues, if he doesn't recover in time, he probably won't go. And it wouldn't surprise me if they would just use it as an excuse so that he doesn't have to go. And then also this popped up today. Pippa Middleton's father-in-law. There appears to be a fresh probe into um, accusations of something that happened about 5 years ago. The R-ing of a 16-year-old girl. I remember hearing about this at the time, but it was, well, at least by the British press, it was kept very hush hush. And it seemed like at the time the charges were dropped, but he's under investigation again. So I don't really have any other details on that case, but as and when there's updates. But very sad for that young girl, and I hope that issue gets resolved and we find out what the truth is. I don't know what's prompted the investigation to reopen again, because that's, if they didn't have anything that was quite tangible, I don't think that's something that they would do to reopen the investigation. So we'll see where that goes. Also, Hugh Grant. There was an article that came out, him talking about being on set on his new film, and in the article, Richard Eden claims to have spoken to Hugh Grant himself. Now, from reading the article, what I could see was that Hugh Grant had given an interview, a different interview to someone else. So he talked about him being on set and losing his temper, but for some reason Richard Eden spun it in his article that Hugh Grant had spoken directly to him, and then Hugh Grant tweeted, "While talking this week to the Daily Mail's Richard Eden, I've never met him, never heard of him." Maybe it was Maureen. Maybe it was Maureen that he spoke to, actually. For those of you who are listening and have absolutely no idea who Maureen is, or you're new to the squad, someone in the comment section, please explain who Maureen is. I don't have the time today to go through that. Right, let's go to your comments. Ruth Lopez, you said, I don't want them to go. I can't get past them having to bow to their abusers. That is a deal breaker for me. Yeah, because they would have to bow, wouldn't they? Awkward. Rahini, Rock is trying to be Kanye. They should start a podcast together. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. The last thing we need is another angry dude with a podcast. Marina, you said that Chris Rock definitely uses comedy to attack women. I think so. And it's like it's been a long time running. It's not anything new. And he seems to have a particular disdain for black women. Gail Lewis, you said you watched the conversation with Dr. Mate and it was amazing. Yeah, the bits and pieces that I saw were really interesting, and we'll go through a whole thread where somebody actually broke it down. Licia W, thank you so much for the super chat. You said no one is going to the coronation. Well, they've got the whole of the Abbey to fill, and they need to fill it with 2,000 people, and they need to fill the whole of central London with people along the streets. So someone needs to go. But it's going to be real embarrassing. Yeah, Black Queen. I'm not even going to read your message, but I'll just put it on the screen. Yes, I did hear about that. And doesn't it just really speak for who Chris Rock is? Just shocking. Like, why you would say that as a black man, I just don't understand. Right, on to the next thing. Okay, we'll go on to the talk that Harry had with Gabor Mate. One in the chat if you actually watched it yourself and give me some comments on what you thought about it. Cecilia, I feel like Harry will attend, Meghan will not go. I, like I said, I'm trying not to speculate too much, but I actually think that's going to be the end result as well. I think Harry will go and Meghan will not. Dara, you said the talk was very good. How long was it, by the way? Was it like 1 hour, 2 hours? Tamika, you said that you loved it, that it was deep and brought my past issues with trauma. Well, I hope that you are healing, Tamiko, and that is why it is so important for us to have these conversations and why it's, when I see celebrities talking about these issues, I don't necessarily think I don't think Harry himself is looking for sympathy. I think it's about starting a conversation in wider society. And when you are such a huge figure and everybody's listening to you and the eyes of the world are on you, well, why not use your position for good? And I am sure that there are people that are going to listen to this and perhaps reflect on their own traumas and say, maybe I do need help. Um, and we need to start destigmatizing going to get help and encouraging people to get help for their mental health. Gail Lewis, he broke down the difference between drugs and plant-based medicine in helping people heal. Very interesting. Right, so we're going to go through a thread. So this is by Carly Ledbetter. I think she writes for the Huffington Post. So the first thing she said was, Harry says he does not look for sympathy. He doesn't see himself as a victim in his life. He jokes that he's not looking forward to becoming 40. You can also add your favorite bits in the comment section, by the way, and I'll read those afterwards. Parts that you thought were very interesting. Harry says vulnerability helps so many people. He talked about sharing his life outside of his control. Oh, sorry. He talks about people sharing his life outside of his control, which is why it's so important for him to tell his own story and why the book Spare was so important. He says it feels like an act of service to share. He also says, or Mateus says, Harry said he felt like he lived in a bubble until he started therapy. Well, growing up in the royal family, you probably did very much feel like a bubble. Harry says it could have been one bubble or multiple bubbles, like Boy in the Bubble. Says his awareness to his own story was distorted, perhaps because of his environment that he was confined in. Because in an institution like the royal family, um, you're almost between having them create an identity for you and trying to figure out who you are. Harry goes on to say, Harry talks about being diagnosed with post-traumatic stress. He worked with a therapist to unpack 12-year-old Harry when his mother died. He was scared of losing the feeling he had of his mom. The therapy would cure him of that. He says the opposite happened. The sadness he said he had to prove to her that he missed her became happiness. He also, so Mate also says, and he talks about Harry being left alone after Charles tells him his mum has died, touches his leg, and then leaves. Mate brings up the lack of touching in the book, not able to hug the Queen, no hugs after coming back from Afghanistan. Mate says that it's a multi-generational pattern. This is actually so true. So there's a piece of footage when the Queen and Philip came back from a long tour. I think it was to Canada, and the Queen mother bought Charles, and the Queen, I think Charles is about 4 years old at this time. The Queen um, taps Charles on the head, and then I think Philip taps him on the head, and then they just carry on. And in that moment, at the end of the day, Charles is a 4-year-old kid. He doesn't care that he's a prince and that his mother is a queen. He's just a child that wants a hug from his mother. But in that moment, his mother decides, the queen decides not to be a mother, she decides to be a queen. So they're right when they say that this is a multi-generational issue. And these are people that are meant to be at the top of the hierarchy in society, and they are very emotionally troubled, emotionally stunted people because of this strange culture that royal life seems to dictate. And who's to say that that is how it has to be? Dysfunction and trauma being passed down generation to generation to generation, and we're paying for it. Like, we are paying 100 million pounds a year for a dysfunctional family to continue to be dysfunctional, and it doesn't seem like those generational patterns are being broken. Right. Goes on to say, or at least by the other members of the royal family. Harry seems to be working on it. So Harry goes on to say, on a lack of touching in his own life, it says he fathers his kids with love and affection, feels a huge responsibility not to pass on any traumas I have to my kids. Harry says there are times he catches himself in moments when he should be smothering them with love. And that's what every child needs. Mate says it's imperative not to pass on traumas to our kids. Amen to that. It is unbelievable to me how many people actually bring children into this world without dealing with their own baggage, and they pass that baggage onto their kids. Don't understand it. Mate says you can imagine Archie and Lilibert not getting that affection. H says he's grateful to have been able to change his environment, which he realizes not everyone can do because of resources. That is true. Harry says he's lost a lot in this process and also gained a lot in seeing his kids grow up in California. Moving helped him and Meghan have much more agency and to be able to bring kids up in a way that's beneficial for them. Mate says Harry's book was a story of deprivation. Mate says not deprivation in a power or privilege way, but mentions Harry having a lack of love between parents and lots of conflict, infidelity, emotionally distant father as how he was raised. Harry talks of not being hugged, says even animals hug their kids. Oof. Oof. That's a bit of a swipe at Charles there. H mentions the first thing we do as parents is skin to skin. That's true. Of deprivation, H says we only know what we know. H talks of breaking a cycle, which isn't easy, and you don't make friends in the process. Mate talks death of a parent, divorce, conflict, and H not being held, understood, or heard, and feeling a lot of suffering. Mate says what struck him in the book was the absolute universal humanity of it. And the next thing, H says that he felt different to his family and strange being in this container. He says that he knew that his mum felt the same, felt as though my body was in there, my head was out. H says he really wanted the book to be an act of service, says it needed to be about giving people permission to talk about their own stuff. And I hope that in reading this and hearing what Harry has to say, people will feel empowered. And I've seen it all over social media. People talking about their own issues with mental health. I've seen women talking about, their issues with fertility and, miscarriages, especially after Megan talked about hers. So it's important to raise awareness about these things. Next, Harry says he felt free during his trips to Africa. And Mate says freedom comes up a lot in H's book. H says freedom is great and felt a huge weight off his shoulders after the book came out. Harry says that a lot of families are complicated and dysfunctional. Says when he was doing therapy, he suddenly realized I'd learnt a new language, and says that the people he was surrounded by didn't speak that language. This is very true. When you are someone who is in a dysfunctional family and you decide to go on a healing path and the other people around you don't, it's like they're looking at you becoming a different person, but really you're just becoming a better person, a person who is healed. And they can't see it because they're still stuck in their dysfunction. And this is what every generational curse breaker goes through. Harry said that he felt distant with his family as he did therapy. Says he was given the impression to everyone that he was happy, but he wasn't happy. And everything that Harry is saying, this applies to you whether you are a normal person or a prince going through these phases of healing, especially when other people around you don't necessarily want to take that path also. Harry says that he was a fantastic candidate for rugby and the military, as the military recruits from broken homes. He also goes on to say one of the reasons why so many in the UK were not supportive of our troops was because they assumed everyone who was serving was for the war. Says that's not true. H says that there was a lot of us who didn't necessarily agree or disagree, but were doing what they signed up to do. He goes on. So I'm just trying to get to some of the main points. Harry says that he was scared of so much, and says that he let go of sadness and grief and never wants to lose feeling of his mother. And then he also goes on to say, H talks about anxiety and panic every time he walked into a room, felt it was 2 degrees warmer for him. So I suffer from minor anxiety, especially in social situations, and I actually don't know why this is. Like, it's not something I've talked to anyone about, but it's like for some reason I just go into this weird panic mode. And it's like I know there's nothing wrong, and once I sit down and start talking to people, it's fine. And I usually am fine once I start talking to people. But for some reason, I just get this great sense of anxiety. I don't know if it's because I'm a little bit of an introvert. I don't know. Does anybody else go through that? Do you get social anxiety? He says that since the age of 12, he was in a state of shock and fight or flight. He also, okay, so this was a really important point. He talks about the differences in PTSD versus post-traumatic injury. So the D standing for disorder, and instead of using the word disorder, that we should think more about perhaps using the word injury. Injury versus disorder is extremely important to him. Importance of certain words and labels. Yes, that is true. Because I think he talked about this quite a lot in relation to when he was diagnosed, and how he didn't necessarily feel that he had a disorder versus an injury. And Dr. Jessica Taylor, who's a qualified psychiatrist, she writes amazing books, by the way. Go and check her out. She actually talks a lot about this, and how we need to start reassessing the language that we use around mental health, and how it affects how we talk about mental health. And she also shared this on Twitter. She said, "I don't know how much more proof I need to present that the medical model, paradigm, and psychiatry can and will be used against you if you need to be silenced. Whether you work at Morrison's or your illiterate prince, pay attention to how mental health will be used to discredit the person." And this is in response to a cover of a UK tabloid. I think this is either the Sun or the Mirror, where they use the words deluded to talk about Harry sharing his trauma. And like I said at the very beginning of this podcast, I don't care how you personally feel about Harry and Meghan, but to me, this is really irresponsible at a time where we're trying to have more open and honest and vulnerable conversations about mental health. When you've got someone who's one of the most watched people in the world to use the word deluded when he's talking about his mental health and traumas, something that could actually help other people and that I have seen encourage other people to talk about their mental health and traumas. And it's not the first time that the UK tabloid media have done this to someone in the royal family. They did it to Diana, and they've been doing it to Harry and Meghan pretty much since they stepped down as working royals. So I will get your comments and see what you all thought about the talk. But overall, I've seen very good feedback from the squaddies that you all seem to enjoy it. Gail Lewis, she said Harry was a little nervous and talked a bit much when Dr. Mate was giving him his diagnosis, but it was a very positive interaction, mutual respect, and allowing each other to share information. Very nice. Hi, Daniel Medical. Thanks for joining us. Oh, and thank you also to Darlene C. I won't say your full name for the 3 coffees, and Daniel A for the coffee as well. Cal, you said vulnerability was such an important theme. It's clearly suggested that Harry will do a podcast on male mental health. I think he should do one as well. I'd love to hear it. In a world full of Andrew Tate podcast bros, I think we need someone like Harry who can have a more positive and vulnerable conversation about men's mental health. Ruth, you said, don't let the tabloids get one pick of them. Yeah, because that's another thing, right? If they go, it's going to be a frenzy for those pictures. Gail Lewis, Harry definitely made his position clear that he is not a victim and doesn't see himself as one. Yeah, I don't think anybody who's being serious thinks that Harry is saying all of this to get sympathy from anyone. He is somebody that sees himself as an advocate for mental health. He, he's a senior. He has a senior position at Better Health that you know deals with mental health and provides mental health coaches. So why wouldn't he talk about his mental health if he's dealing with organizations like Better Health? Sorry, is it Better Health or Better Health? But if you are saying that you're an advocate and you work for an organization like that, well, then shouldn't you be the first person to share? Because it's when you share, that's when you take the first step to get help. Hi, Alan Venon. Thank you so much for the super chat. You said, I've seen wet farts funnier than Chris Rock. Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for the laugh, sir. Oh gosh, I have to go quite far down with your comments. Yes, Church Nelly, dysfunction junction. That unfortunately is the royal family. Thank you so much, Church Nelly, and everyone for reminding everyone to hit that thumbs up button. Lightside, you said you got to cut them out to heal sometimes. That is true. Sometimes part of healing is letting go of negative people. That is true. Yes, Gail Lewis, it's that stiff upper lip mentality, isn't it? That he was raised to maintain. And that permeates throughout British society. And I think it's what makes a lot of people uncomfortable when you talk about these type of things. They have that keep calm and carry on. But for how long can you carry on and keep calm if you're basically breaking down inside? Um, all right. I'll try and get through a few more of your comments, and then we'll go on to the whole Rebel Wilson thing. Light side, I've heard a few squaddies say Harry is highly intelligent despite what they've been saying about him in the past. Yeah, for a very long time, the British tabloids, even before he was with Meghan, actually tried to spin this narrative that he wasn't particularly smart. Um, I don't know how you would say that about someone who started the whole Invictus Games and ran Centre Barley for years and became an Apache helicopter pilot in the military. Right. On to the last story. Rebel Wilson. So Rebel Wilson was on a talk show and she had some things to say about Meghan, and I will play the clip and then we'll talk about it. Let me just find it. By the way, Rebel Wilson is actually meant to be friends also with Nacho. That is, so you're going to hear in the clip when she says, I went to Santa Barbara and met with a mutual friend. The mutual friend I think she's referring to is actually Nacho. Okay, if my phone will cooperate with me, what is going on? Hang on a sec, folks. For those of you who actually saw the clip while I try to get it up, please tell me in the comment section what you thought about it. Because there's some people who are interpreting it differently. They're saying that she was actually making a comment about her mom, not about Meghan. But she said some not nice things about Meghan before. And shout out to the squaddy who went all the way back to the 23rd of October 2018 to find this receipt on the screen. My favorite thing about the squad, the way that we can find receipts, unmatched. Oh, finally, okay. What's going on here? Okay, my phone is oh, hang on a sec, folks. Let me just put on music while I try to look for this clip, okay? Sorry, one sec. Okay, I found it. FYI, this was on the Andy Cohen show, right? And Andy Cohen was actually one of the men who Meghan invited to speak on archetypes in the final episode. So, here is the clip. I'll just play it. I can only play the audio because I don't want any copyright issues.
Wow, you were telling me during the break you introduced your mom to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Yeah, well, we were just talking royal family stuff in the break, and we went up to Santa Barbara, met Harry. Could not have been nicer. Had you known them before? I would assume. No, we just had a mutual friend in common, a polo player. And then Meghan was not.
Okay, so she said we had a mutual friend in common, a polo player. That's definitely Nacho.
As cool. Oh, really? It wasn't as. But then Meghan was not as cool. Oh, really? It wasn't as naturally warm. But maybe, I don't know. And then my mum, being Australian, just asked her all these like slightly rude questions. Oh, and I was like, what? What was she asking? Where are your kids? And like, things like that. And I'm like, Ma, don't ask her that. Well, then maybe that's why she was. Maybe that's why she was like, who are these annoying convicts from Australia? But Harry was lovely. Yeah, he was actually lovely. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know what y'all make of that. Did you think that she was being shady towards Meghan, or the way she followed up with her mum saying, well, maybe it's because her mum was being rude, but then it's like, well, why would you expect her to be warm when you're asking, you know, kind of prodding questions? And I don't know. You all tell me what you think of that. But Rebel has a bit of a history when it comes to women of color. But I don't know. You all tell me. Miriam, is Nacho a friend or someone she met a few times? Yeah, that that is true. Yes, that's another thing, Jessica. She also made some really disparaging comments about Harry and Meghan at the BAFTAs. So why would she expect Meghan to be warm? I mean, I'm sure that Meghan was just polite. I can't imagine her being rude, but it's like, why do you expect someone that you've been not so nice about yourself to be all nicey nice? Hey, it's me. You said she outed her mother on being rude. How did she think that Meghan was supposed to react? Exactly. It's like, are we not allowed to have boundaries? Cal, Andy only slightly pushed back. Yeah, I kind of got that as well. Yeah, Maggie, Rebel did not have to go on conversate like on TV and have that conversation. Lightside. So what some folks are missing is that Rebel said her mum asked a lot of questions. One of them was about Meghan's kids, but I want to know what other inappropriate stuff she said. Yeah. What other inappropriate stuff did she say? All right, that's all I really had to say today. I'll just finish up with your comments. Thank you, everyone, as always. H Night, you think that she was being shady? Lightside, you said, I guarantee the where are your kids comment was the least appropriate of the questions. Just a feeling, yeah. Mad World asking where are the kids was more than likely a security risk. Yeah, I mean, you're talking to someone who has been the most talked about, the most criticized, the most hunted down by paparazzi, women on the planet. Like, would you just not be a little bit more sensitive? And being that Rebel is a celebrity herself and she's around other celebrities, I would think that she knows how to conduct herself a little bit better and just maybe be a little bit more sympathetic to the situation. And the fact that she's been a bit shady towards Meghan in the past, it definitely made people side eye her a bit. Yeah, Black Queen, but Harry was lovely. She was endorsing her shade. Oh my gosh. Trinette, you said, I think she was trying to cover herself. What, by mentioning her mum? Cecilia, even if Meghan wasn't warm, she didn't have to mention that. Yeah, I don't think she had to mention that. To me, maybe it just seemed like Meghan was being cautious, given that she said not very nice things about her just a couple months before at the BAFTA Awards. Maggie, you said Meghan had all the rights to say nothing about her kids and their whereabouts. Ignoring an answer is not being rude. Amen to that. Yeah, yeah, Hazel. So I couldn't play the clip, but for those of you who have seen the clip, yes, John Oliver, after she said that, John Oliver was literally like leaning away and like looked very awkward and uncomfortable. Legacy said, Andy could have said, I found her delightful, but he wants the mess. Yes, he's all about the mess. That real housewives mess. All right, who's going to get the last word of the day? Yeah, Rachel's son, how are the kids would be more appropriate than where are the kids. I agree. Because I actually remember there was an article. Wait, actually, did I think I had it on my slides. One sec. Um yes, no, I did have it. I did have it. Receipts. I have the receipts. Where so Rebel had gone partying just a week after her daughter was born, right? And this sparked some conversation. And Rebel said that she didn't appreciate basically being mum shamed for going to the party and having a good time a week after her daughter was born. And she said that she didn't believe that fathers had the same level of scrutiny. And she said that um, she doesn't hear, guys like Chris Hemsworth being asked, "Where's your kids?" But they do it to every woman. Now, when it comes to things like this, I just think, mind your business. So if she felt upset about people asking her, you know, after she went to this party, after having her kids, then why did she feel the need to ask Meghan? So she's complained about being asked that question in the past herself, and yet here she is asking Meghan and then saying it was rude for Meghan not to answer. Honey, make it make sense. Boney, you said, I bet Harry won't be nice again. That's his wife she's talking about. Yeah. It's really weird to me, like how people seem to think that they can say things about Harry's wife and Harry's not going to feel a kind of way about it. It's like um it's like they're so convinced that Harry's miserable. Like did you see that TikTok? I think I played it a couple of podcasts ago, where the girl was talking about, Harry and Meghan have been together for 6 years, but you still have these people who are like, he's miserable, he's sad, he's a hostage, someone save him. And I think that's why they feel that they can just say anything they want about Meghan. I don't think any man who loves and respects his wife is gonna feel good about someone else saying horrible things about his wife. Oh, thank you so much, Vargas, for the super sticker. Much appreciated. Thank you. Yes, Ruth Lopez. I have seen that video. I think it has 10 million views now. Was it on the Stephen Colbert show, or which show was it on? Where he warned Meghan to run away before the royal wedding because the UK media and the royal family would destroy her. Yes, I saw that. At the end of the day, Harry never asked to be born into the royal family, and as a person, does he not deserve love? And he found that in Meghan, and he's left the royal family anyway. So I find it kind of weird when people say things like, "Oh, but she should have known, like marrying into the royal family." But she married first and foremost, she married Harry, and Harry doesn't Harry as a person deserve to meet the person of his dreams and be happy? Yeah, Gwendolyn, but she had enough nerves to say that about Meghan. Oh, yes, Rebel did have a child. I think she had it via a surrogate, for those of you who are asking. Right, I'm gonna leave it there. Have a fabulous day, everyone, and yeah, I guess I will see you tomorrow. Ciao.
Love's for beginners, ain't no winners. It slips through your fingers. I ain't telling no lies. So F all the drama, F the karma. Just do what you wanna. Promise you got time. Be you and keep looking forward. Don't you look backwards and you'll be fine. Come through and say what you need to. Don't let them put you down. Baby, let me tell you what it feels like. Being independent, no trouble inside. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Let me tell you what it feels like. Being no mama, yeah, do yourself right. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Come get your future. Know you wanna, she'll never betray ya. She ain't telling no lies. So break the glass ceiling, find your meaning, make truth out of dreaming. Yeah. Baby, let me tell you what it feels like. Being independent, no trouble inside. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Let me tell you what it feels like. Being no mama, yeah, do yourself right. It's like magic, living like a bad bitch. 'Cause baby, you deserve the best in life. Be you and keep looking forward. Don't you look backwards and you'll be